This video is proudly sponsored by DigimonCard.io for all your Digimon card, deck building, deck list, card pricing, and discussion needs. Hey everyone, Eggman here with another video, and today we have the top 16 deck list from the Play TCG BT10 DC-1 tournament that happened this past weekend. It was 268 players with 8 rounds, and it's also an event that I was doing the commentary with Yoshi as well, so had a really good time. Shoutouts to Play TCG for running the event and letting us do that. I really do appreciate it, as well as if you guys are looking for some of the DC-1 participation kits, I highly recommend just reaching out to Jonathan if you're going to their Texas regional, as well as just to head out to their Texas regional. There's going to be links to PlayTCG's website in the description, as well as this document, and this document is going to be linked in the description as well. So as always, please consider hitting that like and subscribe button on this video too. There's a lot of work that goes into making these lists and this document as well, so I really would appreciate that too. So lastly, if you guys do want to watch the VOD, it's going to also be linked in the document as well as the description. It's on Twitch right now, and it'll be re-uploaded to YouTube by the end of the week. But all of that aside, let's go into all of these deck lists. So of this top 16, we did have 4 MetalGaruru X, 3 Crosshearts, 2 Alphamons, 2 D-Brigades, 2 Jesmon, 1 Armor, 1 Grandis, and 1 Security Control as well, with Armor taking the first place spot. And I did have an interview with Martin Lee as well, which was uploaded yesterday, and if you guys want to see that interview with him, you'll probably get a lot more information than just me kind of just citing what I remember him saying kind of thing. So we are going to go over the top list in every archetype. Only exception is Thundar has asked to not have their deck list out here. So if I've respected that. If it ends up just being out in the wild in the first place, I will post it on here, but not until I see it elsewhere. So that is going to be that. And let's go to start with Martin Lee's first place armor list. And starting off, we do have Martin Lee's first place armor list, and I was super excited to see this take first place. I've always been a huge fan of the armor archetype and just like how flexible these chains are, and it was just a real joy talking to Martin about this list and his experience, and I'm just really happy this deck did well, especially in a format that I didn't think that armor was doing anything, and just to see this list do well and win the event in the first place, I think is very, very cool. So again, if you want to know more about this, I highly recommend going to the video that I talked to him with it. But the idea about it is that Death X is a really good card, and so his experience is that just you stall until you find Death X, and then you do a really good job. Obviously, there's the combo too with the Jesmon GX. So since the Magnamons are also Holy Warriors, you're able to go into, Royal Knights. You're able to Digivolve up them, and then also activate 1 Digivolving. Then you get Blitz, which is really cool. And if you can do some cool things too, where you can use Jesmon GX, you win the Digivolving effect, you get the Blitz, and then you get to restand it with the Davis and Ken afterwards, which just kind of stays around. And then as well, all turns when a card with Royal Knights and Straits in this Digimon is in the Digivolutions cards, this Digimon gains Piercing and Blocker, and then gains Security Attack +1 for each of the Royal Knights. So this can be Security Attack +2 very, very easily on just to decimate your opponent's security at the same time. So really cool kind of thing. I like the ad for it, and it seems like a really good top end for a deck like this. So again, really happy it did well, and if you want to see more on the deck list and everything else, check out the interview I had with him. So next up, we have Carlos's second place Grandis list, and I really think that Grandis is in a really good spot right now. And we've seen some kind of, I'd say, bolder variants, especially the ones that run with blue, but it's still super solid, and I think not a lot of decks are kind of expecting this, especially in a BT10 event, right? You kind of expect the BT10 of decks and everything else, but there are some small boosts that this deck got, as well as I think it was just good for a meta call for this as well. We do have the new Kukuamon as well, which is really handy with the X antibody version of itself. You have Palmumon, which came out the last set too, but all turns players can play Digimon by effects. This is pretty important and can be really obnoxious in some matchups. And you just go up your chain, you have your really good effects. And we also do have Grande Soul. Shouts to Yoshi's favorite card right here, being able to get some really hard removal when needed. I think is a strong card. So I don't know, deck seems pretty good. It's always been kind of good in BT9. People keep trying to run it. and I think it's good. And the only thing we're really missing is the security rookies, which every color is missing that, so that's fine. But I think that's another boost that this deck could be getting in the next couple weeks. But enjoy that. I think this deck is just in a better position than it was in BT9, and that's kind of cool to see. So congrats to Carlos there. Next, we have Mike Ball's Crossheart, and obviously we do know about the ban list. We did get quite a few of these Crosshearts getting the top 16. We had 3 of them, and it's hard to say if it could go both ways, right? Where everyone played Crossheart and they're like, well, we're not going to be able to play it for after the November, so why not just play it now in this event? And or well, I don't want to play this deck anymore because I know it's going to get hit in a couple weeks. So it's hard to say if the amount of people who started playing this deck in this event was reflected or changed by the ban list. But I still it's a good meta call right now. Again, like why not? It's a strong deck. If you know that the deck's getting nerfed, it's probably because Bandai thinks it's pretty good, which is pretty good if you want to get a top in a DC-1 tournament. So obviously a good chunk of people were playing decks like this. There are some small rooms for innovation. I think like your option cards I think are the big thing. Like almost this was like the Digimon count for literally most of the decks. These 3, if you play Death X if you want, most played 3 copies of Shoutmon ×5. And then I do like the Tie Tamer for this deck too. I still do like the Christopher for the consistency, but I think Ty being able to say, oh, your Shoutmon ×4 is Cure Attack +1, or your Shoutmon ×5 is Cure Attack +2. I think that's very strong there. So that is good. And then just the standard tamers from there. So I don't know what Crossheart is going to look like after the ban list. I don't know if people are going to keep playing it. Obviously, you still have X5, and X5 is like technically the stronger one, and I do like what it does, but obviously the broken part is Shoutmon X4 being able to keep doing this without any interaction, and I can understand like why that kind of needed to go. So anyways, congrats to Mike on their finish on this. 3rd place with Crossheart is still amazing. Like 3rd place in a big event like this is amazing. So I think that's a big deal. So congrats there. Next, we do have, I'm going to try Lianshi. I believe Lianshi is the right way. Sorry about the pronunciation. With their MetalGaruru. And this is like the strongest deck in the game still. I think this is just so consistent. It does so many things. We got a good amount of MetalGaruru players in this top 16 just because nothing really made it any worse, which is saying something. And it's just another blue list that gets a bunch of value. You get to just abuse the kind of memory game mechanics that this has. Like Cool Boy is such a good card still. Like I think this is something that needs to be limited to 1, honestly. Like if it's not soon, like it's just so strong at what it does, or it's just so generic. And maybe I don't know if that's controversial. You can let me know in the comments, but it's just like you get so much value off this, and just going into this chain and say, well, I'm going to just keep swinging and I get to do like 2 or 3 damage for pretty cheap on a champion level stack, which is kind of silly. There's also the new add of the Omnimon X antibody, and this is a really cool tech that I like for this deck. So when Digimon with X antibodies and this evolution cards would Digivolve into this, reduce it by 2, so it becomes a 5. Return all your opponent's Digimon with highest level to the bottom of their deck in any order, and when Digivolving are when attacking once per turn, which means that if you Digivolve into it and attack it, you still only get once per turn. But place 1 with X antibody with level 6. 1 X antibody are level 6 from this Digimon's evolution source to the bottom of the owner's deck. Reveal all your opponent's security cards, trash 1, place the remaining at the bottom to your opponent's security stack face down. So what you can do is you can just have 2 procs of this pretty easily. You can even have 3 if you go into MetalGaruru into X right here, and then you'd be able to get some over 3 turns. You'd be able to get rid of 3 security, which is really nice when I think more people are playing security control right now. And none of them topped, but Mastamon was present, and I think it got pretty close to topping in these events as well. So I think that's a cool new tool. Obviously, only a 1 of, but I don't know. MetalGaruru is stupid good still. It's very, very strong. So anyways, congrats to Lianshi with that. And next up, we do have Jacinto Humans with the Alphamon. And Alphamon is kind of in the same spot as I was kind of talking about Crossheart, where it's still a really strong deck, and but we do know that the Duro Greymon is going to 1 copy. And it's a real shame for something like this too, because I always feel bad for, like, there's Dex Duro Grey, right, where you're supposed to Digivolve on top of a Duro Greymon, and now there's only 1 that you're able to run in the game right now. So hopefully they make more of these just for name purposes, like they did with Savior Huckmon recently with the Jesmon starter deck. But It's hard to say if this deck's going to be good anymore. And honestly, it's just because like you don't have a really good level 5 bridge. Even if this was a vanilla and you could just do your things without it, like I think it'd be fine. Or even if it didn't have the inheritable and just had the wind digivolving effect, it'd still be really good for the deck and what it does. But it's going to be hard to see if I don't know. I think it's going to be a hard time coming back from losing, I'd say, the most impactful card for the deck in a lot of ways, just because it's the linchpin of help you bridge to, obviously, like if the level 6s get banned, right? Like that's the one thing. But this is something that if you've removed, this deck still kind of falls apart, and that's kind of rough to see. So I don't know. I think it's going to be hard to see. But congrats to Jacinto on their finish there, and I don't know if we'll see any more X antibody after the ban list, but I guess we'll see when we see. Next up, we have Michael Berger's 9th place, D-Brigade, and this and if you guys can't tell, it's pretty much still BT9 format in a lot of these decks. Most of these are running pretty similar to how they did in BT9. Obviously, Crossheart is the new boy on the block, but it's moving. It's moving in 2 weeks. It's just taking a vacation here. It's not staying. So it's going to be interesting to see with the release of EX3 as well coming around the corner, if there are any changes, because it's still pretty much BT9 format in my mind. There's not a lot of BT10 stuff that's being represented, at least at the highest, in the top 16 level. And I think that's a little bit of an issue. Obviously, Death Xmon is pretty much like in half these lists right now. And if they're not in the list, they can easily be added to it. So that's something there. But I think D-Brigade is in a good spot. I still love what it does, and I'm happy it's on the scene after pretty much like most of the time it's been like out of the spotlight. It's still pretty relevant right now and can get a lot of value at kind of what it does. So congrats to Michael on their 9th place finish there. And lastly, we do have our Jesmon. We do have 2 Jesmons in the top 16, 12th and 13th. They're right next to each other. This is the 12th place list. This is Shane Shin's list of it. And I really do like Jesmon in this archetype and like in this meta. I think there's some cool stuff that it can do. And it's just really flexible. And it just I really like Sakuyamon. And I don't think Sakuyamon is really flexible, or it can be really run right now, just because those option cards just take up so much of your space and they can be very bricky. And Sistermons are kind of like the same thing, but at the worst case, you could hard cast them and get some effects from it. Like for 3, being able to play a body that says draw, discard 1, draw 2 is still better than an option card in your hand that you can't use because you didn't find your arena tamer. You know what I mean? Like it's something like that just makes some value from it. And there's like this deck can really just go off and do some really strong stuff. So top end is Jesmon, but we also have the Genkuomon X antibody as well, which is cool. Blocker when opponents Digimon, when Digivolving, when you may play one Digimon Systemon the same from your hand or trash without playing its memory cost. Then if Genkuomon is in the evolution card, already have a Digimon Systemon its name until the end of your opponent's turn, or your Digimon get plus 2 KDP and your opponent's effects can't return them to hands or deck or reduce their DP. So that's a really good protection effect for what you do. And you can also proc that off the Jesmon GX, since it procs the when Digivolving effects. So I think all of this is good. You're playing Death X, because I'm telling you, like, any deck is like running 1 or 2 if they have a copy of it, because sometimes it literally does just win you the game. And I think that's an issue, but maybe that's the time for another video. But that is going to be the end of this one. Thank you guys again for watching. Again, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button if you haven't already. Make sure to check out the document if you haven't already. It's in the description, as well as PlayTCG's website for their future events and potential to buy some of their participation packs for the DC-1. So that's again going to be it for me. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you all next time.